From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Today's Gallatin City County Board of Health meeting could mean rolling back COVID-19 restrictions to something that looks like phase one. I'm Cody Boyd, walking the streets of downtown Bozeman to see how businesses are preparing.
And a late season fire flares up in Big Sky. Coming up, find out why the cause of the blaze is under investigation.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Friday, Chet Lehman, Holly Brantley, Matt Elwell with you here. You were talking about it earlier, red flag warnings.
Sometimes there's not much that you can do.
I think it's important to note the red flag warning doesn't require temperatures in the upper 90s.
No, and very dry vegetation. Yeah. We already have that in place. Yep. Windy conditions, temperatures were above average.
Low humidity.
Low humidity.
There you go.
Now we do have some snow heading this direction before it's all said and done. That'll change the landscape a little bit. Temperatures right now into the 30s, a very mild morning. The cloud cover moving in. It's going to be a beautiful sunrise. I want to emphasize, go out, take a picture, post it to our Facebook pages. We'd love to share that on air. Beautiful morning. Look at our Bozeman planner. Our temperature should be into the low 60s to upper 50s. Less wind. It's going to be overall a much more manageable day for the day today. But as we get into the weekend, a big shift in the pattern. The latest numbers have been trickling in here to the Storm Tracker Weather Center, much like our political updates. And we'll, of course, break down your complete forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Matt. Well, a wildfire in the Big Sky area burned about 400 acres Thursday and is still being fought.
Yeah, Custer Gallatin National Forest Public Affairs Officer Marna Daly tells us Porcupine wildfire started over a mile away from a prescribed burn that the Forest Service had started on Thursday. Daly said that gives the appearance they were connected, but at a mile away, it's not clear they actually were. So officials are calling in a fire investigator. Fires burning on state lands on the east side of the Gallatin River, south of Big Sky, in an area generally across from the Ophir School. There are some structures that are quite near the fire perimeter. The Gallatin County Sheriff's Office has placed them on pre-evacuation notice. And the Montana Department of Natural Resource and Conservation using a helicopter to help with suppression efforts, easy for me to say. Highway 191 closed for a while yesterday as crews battled that blaze.
Well, the Gallatin City County Board of Health is planning on meeting first thing this morning as COVID numbers continue to rise. MTN's Cody Boyer tells us the reason is to discuss bringing back some stronger restrictions.
The decision made at this meeting would see what would almost be like a step back in time, at least in pandemic standards, when we're looking at phase one like restrictions. And many businesses say they're preparing for that in every way possible, including right down the street here. And when it comes to preparations, there can never be enough.
It's scary, and I've got kids in school, and it's alarming, to say the least.
For Katie Nunn and the rest of the staff of the Western Cafe, the tick, tick, tick of the case numbers meant it was a matter of time before restrictions would come back into play.
We've got a lot of people in here that come every day. They're our family.
The oldest Bozeman Cafe has been following the protocol since the beginning. To them, new restrictions mean they are still following them for a reason. Everything is still constantly cleaned.
Everything. And that's every time a table leaves, anything that they touch, anything like that.
Now, the three main restrictions that will be discussed at the meeting. Number one, bringing back closing hours for certain businesses like bars, casinos, distilleries, tasting rooms from 12:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Number two, limiting capacity for other high-risk businesses and places of assembly from 75% to 50%. And then number three, regardless of social distancing, keeping groups to no more than 25 people.
We have little red placards that say, "Do not sit here until it's been wiped."
The staff at Rockford Coffee will also be listening to the updated restrictions closely, as they say they have been.
It's going to be crazy. I think we're going to be kind of sticking with where we're at. We haven't really made a ton of progress away from COVID restrictions. We've kind of been trying to keep it pretty strict.
It's kind of a waiting game, but in the meantime, we all just need to be kind and thoughtful to one another.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Now, the Board of Health virtual meeting will be held on Zoom this morning at 7. We'll have a link on our website.
Well, you might remember we told you the Montana National Guard soldiers were put on active duty to help at the Montana State Prison following a COVID-19 outbreak. Well, these pictures were shared with us from the National Guard's Public Affairs Office. They were taken earlier this week. Soldiers have been helping during the lockdown with laundry, they're serving meals, and they're helping in the infirmary health clinic services. Now, the first cases at the prison in Deer Lodge were confirmed a couple of weeks ago, back in October, with both inmates and staff testing positive. The prison, by the way, houses about 1,500 felony offenders and employs a staff of close to 700.
An update now. Rick Park from Ennis appeared in Madison County District Court yesterday and pled not guilty to charges that accuse him of shooting and killing 36-year-old Nicole Watson during a custody exchange last month. The 53-year-old faces charges of deliberate homicide and assault with a weapon after court documents say Park allegedly shot Watson in the head twice outside of his home in Ennis. Law enforcement arrived shortly after Watson's husband, who was there and witnessed the shooting, went to call for help after it happened. Court documents say Park told law enforcement that he was the person who shot Watson and gave law enforcement the gun he claimed he used to kill the victim. Bond was set at $1 million.
In other court news, a Belgrade man pays thousands in fines and loses hunting and fishing privileges for killing a bighorn sheep illegally this year. Matthew DeWitt pled guilty to hunting during close season and unlawful possession and transportation of a game animal. DeWitt's sentence included $4,000 in fines and restitution, and he cannot hunt, fish, or trap for 10 years in 49 states. Now in May, DeWitt shot the ram in the Missouri River breaks. He took the head to the Bozeman office of the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to get the mandatory plug for bighorn sheep, claiming he'd found the animal dead.
A 57-year-old man remains hospitalized after he was hit by a pickup truck while walking south on Montana Street near Silver Street. It happened about 7:30 Wednesday evening. The victim was first taken to St. James Healthcare and later transported by helicopter to a hospital in Seattle. Police say the driver of the pickup truck did not appear to be under the influence of alcohol and did submit to a blood draw for future testing. The incident is under investigation.
Well, a Helena judge has ruled the Montana Lottery cannot limit sports wagering licenses to only Montana businesses with an alcoholic beverage license. MTN's John Riley picks up the story.
In a new ruling, Lewis and Clark District Judge Kathy Seeley said the Montana Lottery Commission acted out of turn when imposing additional limitations beyond what was expressed in the legislation that legalized sports betting. Seeley wrote, "If the legislature intended to limit sports wagering facilities in this way, the legislature could have done so." The judge added the court would not insert an additional provision that the legislature omitted. This ruling stems from a lawsuit filed on behalf of Arete Group, a Billings investment group that sought a license but did not have an alcoholic beverage license. Attorney Lyndon Shevik, representing Arete Group, told MTN he was happy with the ruling and believes justice was done. In the original lawsuit, Arete Group also sought to be immediately granted a sports wagering license. However, Seeley said in her ruling they were not entitled to receive one. The group has already reapplied for a sports wagering license with the Montana Lottery. The amount of money bet in the state has doubled since the beginning of September. As of November 4th, $10 million has been legally bet in the state since Sportsbet Montana launched earlier this year. $8.9 million has been paid out to bettors, $1.3 million has gone to the gross gaming revenue, and around $556,000 has gone directly to businesses that offer sports betting. Montana Lottery told MTN the ruling was significant, and they're in the process of reviewing the decision while determining the next step. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
That's certainly a story we're going to continue to follow here on Montana This Morning. Right now, 6:37, we're going to take a quick break. Former White House strategist Steve Bannon calling for beheading Dr. Anthony Fauci. You heard me. He posted that threat on social media. Coming up, find out how Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter reacted.
But first, here's a look at what's ahead at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, Joe Biden is inching ever closer to victory, but President Trump is not going down without a fight. The president has made false attacks against vote counting in states where election officials are working to count legitimate ballots. We're going to talk to the attorneys general from Nevada and Arizona about all of it. Plus, Republican Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey and Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar join us. Perspectives from both sides of the aisle there. We're going to get their thoughts on the president's false claims of voter fraud. And we have the latest on the pandemic, which has broken another unfortunate record, more than 100,000 new cases in the U.S. for the second straight day. We will see you at 7.